Uganda Eyenkya.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this channel. Of course, it is such a privilege and honor every time I have you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you'll be catching this from. I'd actually salute you a lot. This is Uganda Eyenkya. Of course, we envisage to do a lot in regards to changing this nation. Of course, the Pearl of Africa's Winston Churchill termed that. So a lot of things have to change economically, socially, politically. And I always ask you a question: how do you envisage, or what is your vision in regards to taking this nation forward? The gears are high. I wanted to get into other people who love to change this nation, particularly vying for the top seat of this nation. I'm talking about the presidential race. Of course, many have pulled out their papers confirming that, of course, they can run this country politically, economically, socially. But among those, there are different pastors or religious leaders who have come up to say that, of course, they can run this, and one of them is Pastor Joseph Kabuleta, the lead pastor of the Watchman Ministries. Of course, I did recently an interview with him at the Uganda version at Delta TV, and it was a massive one. Now I would love to sit down with him in the English version to understand fully how he is going to liberate this country financially. He joins me. I'm honored actually again to have you on this show.
It's my pleasure.
I guess everything is good.
It is good.
Very good. Let's start. Last time we did the Uganda version, and I must say it was very good, and many people appreciated that. And I love to ask this same question. Of course, you are a pastor, and we've been seeing that. We've been seeing you in that image as a religious leader, seeing you on the pulpit. What brings you in politics today in this 2020, Pastor?
What brings me in politics is because I'm convinced that politics needs people like me.
Mm-hmm.
And politics needs, especially Ugandan politics, needs somebody with my vision for this country, because that is the one thing, because my vision is all about financial liberation. That's the one thing that has been a major sticking point for everybody in this country. And everyone whom I speak to knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's not a new message, it's precisely what people have been going through. So it's the one thing that actually I believe the message that I have. So what's going ahead of me is the message, not the personality, the message. So that's one thing. That's how it kind of is different, because Ugandan politics have been about personalities all the time. Personalities. And I do have one of my own, but the key thing right now is I want people to move away from the person to the message, because we are going into a very important time for our country in regard to everything. We almost are like at the level we were at in 1971, because a lot of the post-African, post-independent African countries had one thing in common. Of course, they had leaders who stayed in power, and the Zambia, those Kaundas and so on, who felt the presidency was theirs by right. Now, Mugabe and so on. But then those are people who led their countries to independence. So they kind of had that thing that they had achieved there, a monumental thing. But now then we have Museveni, who came much later, and actually came with that exact mindset, and has tried to reshape and you hear his sycophants calling him father of the nation. He's the father of no nation. Okay? Those were titles which were given to people, rightfully or wrongfully, to people who had led their nations to independence. Museveni has led us to nothing apart from poverty. That's the one. He's the father of poverty in Uganda, by the way. So if they want a title for him, there is one. But the thing is, now, after that comes an important part of our country, and we can go one direction or the other. And we've seen different directions, countries that have gone different directions. Next to us here is Kenya, who had their bit of course, Jomo Kenyatta, then after him, Moi, who was an extension really of Kenyatta. But then after that, when the era of democracy started, and 2002, Moi had to give up, and then there was an election, they went in a completely different direction, and now they are just far ahead economically, far ahead of us, because they sorted their political issues sort of. So there's not been anybody who has stayed more than 10 years. There have been contests about elections. There was one in 2007, which led to death and so on. But they've kind of overcome that, and you get the feeling they are going to have changes of power, and now there's not going to be any queries on that. Now that leads to economic growth. Now what we are going into right now, post Museveni, and there is going to be a post Museveni 2021. And I want everybody who is listening to think beyond Museveni, because that has been the big problem. I've seen all the people who are standing, all of them, the key thing is Museveni. We disagreed here, we disagreed here, I left him here, I did that. And it's almost as if their key thing is how they have disagreed with Museveni.
And most of them, they do argue that one of Uganda's biggest problem is this guy, Museveni. Do you agree with them?
Yeah, but that's the thing. But you see, you don't solve a problem by thinking about it permanently. Okay? You solve a problem by looking at the solutions, which is what I'm presenting here. I'm not presenting a problem. Everybody knows who and what the problem is. Okay? There is no need for me to present myself like that. Now, what I need to present is the solution. Okay? Now, and this is what I'm presenting. There's been a lot of lamenting of what the problem is, and we all know it. Okay, and I really don't not want to go there. I want to look at to people to look at this country with hope. This is what I was telling you about, that we are going into a very important time economically for our country, because we are going to start officially, mining our oil, a lot of industries, a lot of minerals. We have a whole lot of agricultural potential that has not been harnessed. And yet we are going in a time where there's going to be a lot of food shortage, because so many people missed the season as a result of the COVID. And you know how strenuous it can be in places like this when people miss the sowing season. So when we were supposed to be sowing, that's when the whole lockdown came. So at the next harvest, it's going to be so. And now usually that leads to a prolonged period of food shortage. Now the one thing we have, which few other countries have, is for us we can have a second season this year. Many countries cannot. So for much of the crops, we can have a second season this year. So we are very advantaged in so many places. And now we are going into a place where the oil was discovered almost 20 years ago, but now is when we are going to its true exploration. The true mapping of Uganda's mineral wealth was done about 3 years ago, and the mining policy was completed and actually ratified in 2019. And the only part of that has not really been explored is the one of Karamata, which actually has a lot of minerals. But that is those kind of minerals, gold and so on, mambo and all that. But outside of that, there are other minerals, actually 27 different minerals, all of which are in quantities that are commercially viable.
Of course, Pastor, when you discuss of everything, how you're going to revamp and how you're going to change or to liberate the economy of this nation, everyone will have to ask like a question: how are you going to do that? They will have to understand the how question, how you're going to tackle everything, because you have good ideas. Everything that you say, everyone will appreciate. If they are good at economics, they will say, yes, we have such a good person or president to be. How are you going to do everything you're talking about?
Now, this is what I'm telling you. The question is, before the how, what do I have to work with? This is what I'm telling you. We have a lot to work with. Okay? We've seen countries which have had an economic boom just because of the things that we have here in almost equal quantities. Okay? The last time I told you about, for instance, Angola, the nation of Angola, which had a lot of civil war, a lot of stealing of their wealth, especially diamonds and so on. But when the civil war ended in 2002, with the killing of the unitary leader, Jonas Savimbi, they had 17 years of a president there, called Eduardo dos Santos. Now, unfortunately, he was not the kind of president they wanted at that time, because in the 15 years between 2002 and 2017, they made $600 billion. That is just from exporting from exports, and that is just minerals, especially diamonds in their case, oil and natural gas. So oil, natural gas, and minerals. We have all of those. Okay, but they made $600 billion. We might not have them necessarily in those quantities, but we have some. And $600 billion. That's in 15 years. That's $40 billion a year. Uganda's budget, the entirety of our budget 2020, is less than 13 billion. So just
US dollars.
US dollars.
Yes.
So just by that, okay, if we could get the 40 million, because what happened in that period is Angola had the world's highest growth, economic growth. They peaked at some stage at 30%. It even went down to 24%, but even that was the highest in the world by a distance. So nobody does that. When you get 7, 8%, you are doing really good.
Yeah, true.
So now they had at some stage 30%. 30%. That means you double your economy in 3 years. They had they came down to 24%. That means you double your economy in 4 years. All that is spectacular. But because of bad leadership, they had the same things. And now you see the similarities between them and us are so, so many that they cannot be ignored. They also had a leader who came with these all Marxist theories, like Museveni did, quoting Chairman Mao and all that. And then they discovered the wonders of capitalistic greed. Okay? So they fed in the money, and there are so many countries which are like that, which kind of leaders who are this Marxist thing of, Jama policy and all that, until they land on the money. Now that's what has happened in Uganda. Now, when they landed on the money, his relatives were in every bank. I'm talking about the President of Santos, his relatives are in every bank. Kind of the things you see here. Every business was run by his relatives. The national oil company, which was the cash cow for the economy, called Sonangol, was run at some stage by his daughter, who was also named the richest woman in Africa, because of course she was in charge of all the diamonds and the wealth of Angola, and things like that. But still, at the peak of all that, a third of the country was in abject poverty. That's what bad leadership does. You have enough money to bring everybody out of poverty, but you will not, because 15% of the money was surely to personal accounts of relatives of the president and people around him. A good percentage was taken to European capitals to buy houses in Lisbon and so on and so forth. Almost very little of it actually ended up in Angola, but even that which did ended up in a small segment of people who made Rwanda their capital, the most expensive city in the world. And meals were going for $60 and a cup of coffee for $30 in a typical Rwanda, restaurant. But amidst all of that, there was a lot of theft, because here there is glamour and glitz and a lot of dollars. And just a thin line, and down there is abject poverty, where up to now, they still do not have electricity constant electricity in most of the parts of that country. They still have water, which comes with sand, because they cannot do simple things like cleaning water for their citizens. And so many such things which are typical of African countries, of poor African countries. But Angola is by no means poor, if you understand what I'm saying. So the poverty is in leadership, not in resource. Now this is what we are coming to address. Because unlike Angola, now here is the good news, unlike Angola, for us we are going into the golden era of the exploration of our world. It should start in about 2 years when we've gotten rid of this bad leadership. Now they have started when they had bad leadership. Okay? So by the time they change the leadership, the resources are diminished. Now ours is starting when we have good leadership. And that is, I think, a blessing from God. Because now when we have good leadership, and with the resources that we already have, there is no reason why the people of this country should be poor. There is no reason why they should not have basic, services like clean water and permanent electricity and things like that, and very very basic things before even we go ahead. Then there is no reason why the government should not enable them to create personal wealth. Not talking about it. There has been a lot of talking about it, but actually what he wants is the reverse. Okay. You said wealth creation, actually what he wants is wealth diminishing. But now where people actually are empowered to make wealth for themselves and actually be rich. And we're talking about the kind of wealth the kind of wealth, whatever, that starts from down and goes up. Because here is the problem: once it starts up in these countries, and I've studied a number of them around us, it never trickles down. It stops somewhere here. In the case of Uganda, it stops at the very, very top. Okay, there are some places where it trickles down to the middle class, and there is a booming middle class, like Kenya. Okay, there is corruption there. There are a number of things, but they have a very booming middle class, and that sustains them. Now, Uganda, the middle class is diminishing very, very fast. Now, that's because Kenya, in spite of all those other problems which they have, which are made perhaps difficult, economies like that, the world at least comes up to somewhere. Then it creates a first class, a middle class, then the lower class may be suffer a bit. But here, there is no middle class, and there is no trickling down of wealth to the middle class. Now, we want to start it at a completely different model, where we start the world from down and go up. Because when it starts down, it will definitely reach up.
Pastor, like when you discuss things of change of leadership, of course, and you're referring to good leadership, you're going into something that has been destroyed, destructed for many years now, that 5 years, and perhaps still counting. I don't know, like whether God will do some miracles come 2021, and like whether you're the chosen, like the chosen one. But what differences are you going to create seriously out of the 35 years we've been in captivity? What differences are you going to create, and what explains your confidence, by the way?
But here is the thing. First of all, I'm absolutely confident I'm going to be the president.
And what explains that?
I know I am going to be. I am absolutely sure that I'm going to be. I could have handled things in a different way which other people have handled, but I know what I'm doing. And I know that my method will turn out to be the best. Because I'm sharper than all those people here. I know what I'm doing. You see that people say, okay, yeah, it sounds good, we should have, but how is it going to happen? It is going to happen. You wait to see. Because here is the thing. When people buy a message, they become very passionate about it. More passionate than they can ever be about a person. Because the person, allegiances shift from here to there. You understand? Somebody can love this person today, and the next day they don't think that much of them. You know that. There have been presidential candidates, for instance, who have stood for all this while, and people were extremely passionate about them, okay, 5 years ago, and people were ready to die for them. But now those same people, you look at them and they're like, I know we're tired of that one, we want somebody else, you understand? That's because they did not buy into something more than the personality. They bought. Now here what we're doing is two personalities. So there's this personality trying to take off the other personality. So we're tired of Museveni, so we present another personality. But then, the thing about people having the message and actually really believing and understanding it and believing it and seeing hope in it is that they become passionate about the message more than they are about the person. And that's what actually they want.
Of course, I'll pose that question, I'll pose it again to you, that you already said that people are hopeful, you've given them the hope. Of course, you've seen many people posing or bring actually hope for now. Many years they come, they say like a lot of sense, and many people buy them, but at the end of the day, how to implement their ideas and how to make sure that they kick this man out of leadership. That's the thing that people love to hear and understand is beyond an election, because there are people who believe that seriously the guy has been here for many years and he still believes that he can't be taken out of leadership through an election. What difference? I would love to hear some different things that like different things that Kabuleta has come with, and to say that seriously beyond an election, in case this and this happens, these are my
Let me tell you, the next president is going to be put into an election, and it is not going to be the incumbent. There is even no guarantee that he's going to be on the ballot of the election. You take those words from me. So the next president is going to be elected.
Not the incumbent.
He will not be the incumbent one. There is even no guarantee that he will be there.
I'm just wondering.
So yes,
is it God saying or just Kabuleta?
It is Kabuleta saying. But if it was God saying, I would say this is going to happen. I'm saying there is no guarantee it's going to be so. I want people to get their mind off that man, okay, and start thinking about a Uganda beyond him. Because you see, people do not understand. There are so many things people do not understand. Like that man has perpetuated himself in power by making sure every conversation is about him. It doesn't matter whether what you're saying is positive or negative. As long as you're talking about him, you're building on the occult, on the cult personality that he is. You understand? And I wrote something about Iran sometime about, and I said that, and I gave this example which I'm going to give again. I said, if a man has, let's say, two or three wives, okay, and every time those people meet, they are fighting, they are bickering, they are doing what, bickering over him. He doesn't mind that because that shows he has power, right? But imagine if those two women sat down one day over a drink and they spoke for 2 hours and that man's name never featured in that conversation. That's the day he loses power over them. You understand? So we have to get to a point where we can talk about politics without talking about a 75-year-old man who is so many years past our life expectancy. We have to think beyond him. We are living, I mean, the youth of this country must be given a message beyond him. Because so many of them are 50 years younger than him. But they are being made to think that you have, I mean, you can wait him out. The point is, we have to stop thinking about, because that's how he doesn't mind these talk shows where and that's how all the talk shows in the country are, where there is, you have to bring somebody, and that's why I don't go for so many of them, where they want to bring somebody who is pro him,
a debate, you're not tolerating debates.
Then somehow they make sure he's at the center of the subject of the thing. He's 75. I'm 30 or so years younger than him, and he's none of my business. He's on his way out.
You don't see anything good.
We have to start thinking at Uganda post that man. And that is the challenge of so many Ugandans. And that's why they don't even want to write it. Because every time they're thinking politics, they're thinking that man, that man. How? Even if it was your grandfather, you must be thinking about how you're going to do things after him.
How are you going to solve the problem?
Even if it's your father at that age, and at that frailness, you must be thinking beyond
Pastor Joseph, how are we going to solve a problem without talking or discussing it?
No. You discuss the solutions. Let me tell you something. I'll give you an example. If you have a sister of yours who is in an abusive marriage, and then you go there, and she starts telling you about how abusive her marriage is, you're not doing anything. You know, my husband does this, does that. Yeah. Now, what do we do about it? Are you ready to end the relationship? Are you ready to move on? Now, I don't go there for lamentations, okay? Because everybody can do that. You know, we've suffered, we've done this and that. No. People have the problems, as some philosopher says, the problems of this, they have to be solved at a higher level of thinking than that which created the problem.
Very good. I think
now, the thing is, we don't talk about the problem because we all know the problem. Ask any of these people here if they don't know the problem. They do. So I am not here to talk the problem. I'm here to talk the solution.
Very good. You're here to talk the solutions. Very good. And now start posing to some of the problems that you're giving the solutions. Of course, your plans ahead. Of course, you already say that corruption, actually, allowed to say the same words, to say absolute poverty, corruption. What are your plans on what should be the solutions in case Kabuleta becomes the president? What are the solutions as we move on, because of the question of unemployment? We have the youth question. So start with me. How are you going to solve the corruption question or problem?
What's the corruption?
Yes. What could be your solutions? Because we want to discuss the solutions.
My solution is to create finance for everybody. You understand? My solution is to just get what finance there already is right now. That's the starting point. Because there is already a lot of finance. As I've told you, there's a lot of resource money that has been borrowed over this period for COVID, and which has not gotten down to the people. So my first solution is to make sure that whatever is of the nation ends up in the hands of the people of the nation, not just a select few. And by the way, let me tell you, all those things you see of money being siphoned away to foreign capitals and what, that's exactly what's happening here. You think all that money is here? For instance, how many trillion shillings which was borrowed over COVID? No. These people have properties in South Africa and where. That is the problem. And the problems of Africa are the same. If that money stays here, it has to go in the pockets of other people. You understand? That's why nations put a lot of emphasis, for instance, on tourism. Because when somebody comes and spends money here, it stays here, and that money somehow there's a ripple effect goes into other people's things. Now, if you can start by, first of all, blocking the money that goes out in its entirety, a lot of it, which is made here, from here, by even multinationals, and it goes out, multinational companies, and goes out. If you start by just solving that alone, already you have jobs, because if you tell those people that you can't make money here, you have to invest a good fraction of it here in Uganda. Do you know how much money this economy would have by just doing that? Because we have companies which come here and make billions of dollars, and they siphon all the money out. There is no country in the world which does that, not even Rwanda. Like, we are the most stupid people in the world, where the president goes and says, investors come here, come and make money here, we're going to give you free land, we're going to give you 5-year tax holiday, make money, and all the money you make, take it back to your country. What kind of stupidity is that? Like, don't you see our leaders are stupid? Like, that's why I'm telling you, we do not need supernormal intelligence. We just need simple things. Go to Rwanda and see if you can make all that money and take it out of Rwanda. Just Rwanda. I'm not talking America or South, I'm talking Rwanda. There is no country which does that. So how do you expect your people to get rich when somebody comes, sets up a mobile phone company, takes a lot of money from you, and the only money that stays is taxes, government taxes. Then all the profits as made, repatriated, back. At what stage do those people get rich? So then they say they are giving you jobs. They are giving you. Now, in other whatever countries, they will say you can take part of your profits, a percentage. But the rest of your profits, which you've made here, have to be invested here. Now, if you get even one of those companies and told them that instead of repatriating 100% of your profits, we are giving you only 30% to repatriate, 70% should be invested here. Instantly, in 1 year, all these youth would have jobs. Because that's a lot of money. They would have to invest it here in one thing or the other or the other or the other. You understand? And investment, it's their money. It's not yours. Wait, it's their money. But you tell them,
corruption.
No, wait a minute. It's their money. You tell them it is yours, but keep it here. You understand? That's how all other countries. Nobody takes it out from you. It's your profit. But you can only take out a part of it. Leave some of it here. Now, those people will create jobs because they have to invest that money somehow. They're not going to keep it in the banks. So now, what creates jobs? Investment. How can you have how can you have jobs? You also asked me about the youth. How can you have jobs? I'll give you an example. There was a time when this man went to look for investors in Italy. So they asked him, he explained to them all the advantages we have. He wanted them to come and do processing in agriculture and so on. And there were people there who had a lot of money, because they don't keep money in banks, they invest it. So they asked him, after he had convinced them, he told them how we don't have a minimum wage, we don't have what, all those things which he said. They asked him one question: what happens after you? Then he told them that don't worry what happens after. And all of them looked at each other like this, and they said, we'll talk to you. None of them, because people invest for 30 years. And they know this man is not going to be around. So they has to first of all that's why immediately a country has, for instance, Ghana, after they sorted the political thing and then they started having changes, peaceful changes of leadership, investment comes because people know that this is a country that can be trusted, where you can put your money. Because there's not going to be war over, there's going to be an election, there's a leadership, election, people mount on the leadership through election and get off through an election. So he failed to answer one question: what happens after you? He said, actually, you leave that for me. They just looked at each other and said, yeah, okay. None of them came, not a single one of them. So when we talk investment, there's no serious investor is going to come here. We have speculators, okay? Because until the political issue is solved, people do not put money. Private investors do not put money, because how do you guarantee that your investment is going to be secure? You see, even in secure countries where there were looters recently in America, big companies move and go to states where, because people have burnt down a supermarket and what they say, okay, thank you very much, they just move and go. And they live with their jobs and with everything. So there has to be stability. So the jobs of the youth and so on, The solutions we have them.
And what are they?
That's what I'm telling you. Number one, we cannot be the only stupid country in the world which lets all the profits made by multinational companies here be repatriated to their countries. We cannot do that because that already goes with jobs. Even just one company, I would not mention them, one of those companies, if you told them take 30%, 70% leave it here, invest it here, you would have jobs for almost, at least a quarter, just that one company of the unemployed youth. To the many people coming from universities and what in any sector, somehow have a way because that money has to be invested. They will not keep it in the bank and they cannot take it out of the country. That's one. Number two is the political question. When we solve the political question and the issue of the people see that now there is stability of leadership, there is actually a president who has gone and is the president because he has been voted by the people. And then they know that there is a term limit restored, which is going to be one of the things, and they know that this president cannot go beyond 10 years, and afterwards he has to.
So are you saying that passages of Kabuleta won't go for more than 10 years in case he's in leadership?
I cannot. The first thing we set there would be, even if I did 5 years and I set the way for people to see. Because so many people are not, there are people who are not seeing. They are not seeing what the potential is, what we can do, even if it is just 5 years, for people to show them the way. I can come back and pastor. I am not, so when those issues are sorted, okay, everything is, so many other things change. The investment, the level of investment, the level of employment for youth, and a number of other things, okay. Then when the issue of the national resources is also sorted, and we make sure that the resources are put in different sectors, all those youth will be employed. And do we have the most universities in the world? Are we the ones who produce the most, whatever in the world? Like, there are very simple problems. Like somebody will say, Kampala is so congested. Do we have the most cars in the world? Why is it that congested? It's just bad planning. Because there are cities which have twice the number, even 3 times the number of cars, but they do not have the sort of gridlocks that we have here. It's just bad planning. And the reality is that the problems were created by guerrilla men, guerrilla fighters, the bushmen, like real bushmen. Now they have to be solved by people who are intelligent, who have an intellect. Okay? Now, that's why I'm coming in there. Because it's easy to say, no, we are going to, we want to change and change. And change is going to come. But we want the sort of change where we look back 10 years. The youth of this country, who have the luxury of so many years ahead of them, will look back and say, man, that was the point at which our country changed. And now we are proud to be Ugandans.
How long do you think it can take this man I'm seated with here to just transform the nation? And the keyword is transform.
Less than 5 years.
Corruption, gone. Unemployment, gone.
There is not, I will not say corruption gone. You see, those are very far-reaching things. You see them. Because there is no country in the world where there is no corruption, you understand? But I'm saying the sort of plundering of the national wealth by a few individuals gone. So the sort of, disorganization, the sort of lack of interest in people's well-being gone. And this is like total lack of interest in how people are living by the leadership. They don't care. They absolutely don't care.
I just love how visionary you are. By the time someone would just call it being in a fantasy, I guess. Just you're in 2020, we just have a few months down the road to reach to an election. And
where is the fantasy? What I'm going to do or winning the election?
Seriously, winning an election.
Me winning the election.
Because when people take you as a job, you come from nowhere. Just a few months down the road, and you're saying, "I'm going to be the president," and I'm very, very.
I've told you. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you. There was a comedian in Ukraine. A comedian,
and that's Ukraine.
It's the same thing. They are human beings. We are human beings. These are things work like this. Who came up and stood, and people said it's a joke because of course it's a joke. He's a comedian. He won the presidency. Why? Because people want something different. You understand? And they listen to him and they say, no, we want him. So there are citizens, politicians saying, no, where has he come from? Who is he? He's just a comedian. And the guy won the election. And he's now the president of Ukraine.
That could be your
There is another one. No, it's okay. Let them do whatever they want. But I am the sort of joke they need. None of the other people can do the things I'm talking. Let me tell you this.
If we've been having jokes, you're the right.
No, none of
jokes we've been looking for.
Is there a bigger joke than what we've gone through in the 35 years? So none of those people who are there can do the things I'm talking about. Not a single one of them. I know that for a fact. None of them. Many of them are still stuck. We fought, this guy let us down. Some of them, okay, they still have this, and we don't want that military thing. Okay? We just want that out. Then there are others who, yes, want a change and what and so on, but they have not defined the sort of Uganda they want. And even if people trusted them, afterwards you realize that okay, this man doesn't have what it takes, and that's the truth. This man, okay, we liked him, but doesn't have what it takes. But then, of course, you can go ahead and vote for him. But if you want somebody who actually knows what he's talking about, you're going to wind up with me. Even if you go through 45 candidates, you will wind up with me. Because I'm the only one who can say, who can say the things I'm saying and do them. Because there is a system there which people have to understand. There is an actual system which has been built, which is determined to guarantee that wealth does not come down to certain people. Now, you can change the people at the top and remove them and put others. But the system will not break. Now, I have studied that system and I am going to remove it completely and now start something afresh. Where people prosper or not on the basis of weight, on the basis of their innovation, on the basis of their business acumen, and so on, even their education and so on, not on the basis of which tribe they belong to, who they know, and so on. No, that's what we have to break, where it is complete merit. That's why somebody like me who comes with absolutely no merit, apparent merit, apart from my intellect and so on, no apparent merit. That's the best, because I know exactly. I have been through these levels of society. I have I've stayed for years in front of in Islam somewhere there, where there is the Muala passing in front, and I'm having my cup of tea here. I have gone through levels of all.
Very good. That's where I was heading to. That do you understand seriously beyond just a problem, like knowing them, but do you comprehend the problems and even the solutions? Because you must say that yes, I know the problem, but understanding them and understanding the solutions. Because there are people who believe that, of course, there are people whom they take as their people. For instance, I'll give you a scenario of Honorable Bachagwan. They say, oh, that's a ghetto man who serve. They take him as theirs in quotes. Now, this Joseph Kabuleta here, they take him as a soup person, very professional, things like such. They take you as a person of a medium class or of a high class. How are you going to convince these people in deep down the village, in the ghetto, that you're theirs in quotes?
The thing is that, interestingly, that the fact that actually you call me a suit man shows how hard I've worked. Because a few years ago, not too many years ago, I was right there in the ghetto. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I was right there. I'm actually in that same place where he comes from. I was right there, and he knows. And we used to go and eat in the same place. He knows. So the fact that and he himself has also worked his way up, by the way, and he's to become who he is. So he understands those problems. I do as well. Okay. I understand those problems. I do not have to go and be there to understand what those people go through. Okay, because I've been there. And a lot of the people who work there are complaining, are people who have known me from that time. Okay, who got in touch with me when they had, and they said, because they know me, they've seen me there, they've seen me go step by step. When I joined the media, I went and excelled in the media, then left it and went. So all these things they've seen. Okay. Now the old thing of elitist, people see it from your expression, from the way you write, and so on. But the writing is talent. It's one thing God gave me. So somebody can read my writing and say, man, he's elitist. No, actually, I have been through all those levels of one. So that's the thing. I understand those. But then also on the other hand, you need somebody Those people need somebody, not necessarily. You don't always need somebody who is like you to solve your problems. Just because you can understand them doesn't mean you can solve them. Okay? Now, if otherwise, if you're poor, would you go to a poor person or to a rich person for help?
Opposed to a rich person.
Yeah, the rich person might not necessarily understand all your problems, but he wants solutions. And he's the one who has them. You understand? Now, if you go to a fellow poor person, you will understand. I know what it means to go 2 days without food and what, but he cannot help you. He does not have the food. You see, so there might be somebody there who does not necessarily understand, but he has, he has the means to help you. Okay. Now, in me, they have somebody who understands and also has the means, and by the means I mean the intellectual know-how of how to run this country and so on, and how to change the system and make sure that even if it was just 5 years of Kabuleta presidency, this country will not be the same again. It will be on a different foundation, totally different foundation.
Still, liberating this country. President Museveni said that like many years back that he's here with they gotten guns with these other guys that they were going to liberate this country. Now, this is totally very different. What we are seeing, in fact, is totally very, very different. What tools are you going to use?
No, the thing is, he did not talk about financial liberation.
They used guns.
No, he did not talk about financial liberation. He did not say
no,
that.
I'm saying he was going to liberate the country.
That's my point. He had a different idea of liberation. And we do not need that kind of liberation in the law.
Very good. Now I'm discussing the tools.
What tools?
They used guns themselves.
We are going to use votes. We are going to use persuasion. Okay? We are going to use persuasion and votes to get to our aim. He used guns, that was that time. That's what he knows. And by the way, take away guns and he's a useless person, because that's the language he understands. That's why every time there's an election, they say they are rebels who have been formed. They are no rebels.
Pastor Kabuleta.
Wait, let me explain this to you. That's why every time there's an election, now the other day I was seeing over UPDF cracks a sale of rebels. Rubbish. Because he needs for there to be some kind of fighting. That's why even in Somalia and South Sudan, the minute they got peace, it became irrelevant. Now, the minute Somalia got peace, and the Americans even opened an embassy there, they were chasing Uganda with that. Now we no longer need you, go back. And now he's the one begging for Uganda to be there. Yet previously, when you even threatened, we are leaving Somalia, then they say, please don't leave. Now, there are people who would get their relevance only from war. And that's one person, the current leader. He gets his relevance from war. That's why he has to even go and look for them. There was a rebel group over called PRA, who had never even shot one person. I don't even think they had a gun or even a knife. But somehow people were being arrested, PRA people. It's fake. It's fake. Now there's another fake. And they always come up when there's an election. Okay? Why? Because it's always an excuse for him to use extreme violence, number one. And his relevance is when he's fighting of some nature. Now, if the countries around us are all in peace, okay? If South Sudan is in peace, Somalia is in peace, Burundi is in peace, Rwanda is in peace, and so on, the man has no relevance.
I would love to hear some new thing from you that, yes, seriously, the tools you're talking about, 2001, 6, 11, 16, seriously, those tools have been used, votes, and Dr. Kankiza has come out to claim on a number of occasions that his votes were rigged. What new thing are you creating?
No, they were rigged.
This time around in 2021, that you're going to use the same tool and you become the president, confident as you are.
There is a time for everything. There is a time for everything. And the time is now. There is a time for everything, and the time is now. And you best believe it, that I know what I'm talking about. The time is now.
In case an election is rigged,
there is not going to be a rigging of an election. And like as I told you, there is even no guarantee that there is going to be an incumbents. There is going to be a proper election. Okay? And even if there was an incumbent, he already has, there is already a lot of weaknesses that people are not seeing because they have been, somebody has flashed the strength of Museveni, apparent strength of Museveni. But even that electoral commission, there is a lot of weaknesses, not weaknesses, what I mean, but the fact that the sort of control he wielded over them last time. And you should understand even how last time he managed to do that. Because if you know what happened in 2016, the reality of what happened in 2016, there's a lot that could have happened different. You understand? It's like if a team has been so strong and is winning every game 3-0, 4-0, but then you look behind and they have been winning every game 1-0, and then they score very late, then you know they are becoming vulnerable. You understand? That previously they would win games at a canter, but now you can see that okay, they are still winning, but we are sensing something is not right. Okay, now they are getting maybe late penalties. So there is, people have to understand. I don't want to go into the details of that, but people have to understand that there is something in there. Number one, his popularity has fallen drastically even among the rural people, even among the people in his place. Okay, drastically, drastically. So it is going to be very difficult for him to cheat the way he cheated last time, because even people who cheat have a background. They start with something that they, expand it. Now he has nothing. He has very little. Even the people in his home place are everybody is tired of him.
You're a person saying that President Museveni has nothing in different regions of this country. Of course, he has structures, he has MPs, he has what? You, Joseph Kabuleta, just a pastor you have.
No.
Isn't it the opposite to you, by the way?
He has that because they want him, the money and what. It doesn't matter. Because then, I'll give you an example. How did he win in 2016? How many votes did he get from, let's say, Central Uganda? How many votes did he get from Toro? How many did he get from what? Look at them and see if he's going to get any of the votes in those places that he got last time. The answer is no. You understand? Now, somehow he had some. So look at now the people who were against him. The places now they can go and reap votes, which they couldn't before. I don't remember last time he actually had to delay all the voting materials here in Kampala and Wakiso in order to win. That's why 6 million people did not vote. A majority of those votes were going to be against him. He got 6 million votes of the 10 million that were cast. The 6 million that did not vote had been frustrated within this period, where the people against him were going to get a number of them. You understand? After some time you run out of it. When you're 75, first of all, there are things you cannot do which are new. Biology is against you. Everything is against you. So there are things which you cannot do over and over again. Now, because he has to come up with something. So what's he going to do? Close mobile money like he did last time? We know he's going to do that. Shut down social media like he did last time? We have now alternatives. Everybody is on VPN thanks to his OTT. So now social media cannot be closed by UCC because we will find other ways. Okay? What other trick is he going to pull out of the hat? He's run out of tricks. You understand? That's why now he's hanging onto the scientific, hanging onto this. Now they're saying everybody should say where they are going to get their funding from. What he's scared, but people are not seeing that. They are passing different electoral laws every 2 weeks just because the man is scared. But you're still having a picture of a strong Museveni. He is not strong. Why is he passing all those laws? Every new thing they pass. Now, even these videos, they have passed a new law. Are you aware that in a very short time it has already been tabled? Before you present this video, you have to go and take it to UCC so that they evaluate its content. Now, if somebody is even scared of videos, where is the strength? Videos which somebody goes and puts on a phone and records himself, and you're scared of that, and people still think he's strong. He is not, because he went and blocked all. Now I can tell you there are some media channels which cannot call me because I'm talking about money. The one thing they would rather not, and nobody talks about, because that's the gist of the matter. Now there are those which will not call me. They cannot. So when I discovered that, I said no problem. I started shooting videos, and the videos were having, millions of views.
Very good.
So now he comes. Now they try to curb that. Now every area, now really,
Pastor Joseph, are you
where
ready for
is
the consequences? Are you ready for the consequences? Because you're chasing the top seat of this nation. Of course, we know the kind of challenges many have faced, like you who want the throne of, or the big throne. Are you ready to face the challenges, the consequences, of course?
consequences of standing
against President Museveni?
I don't know what consequences.
Many are brutalized, actually.
Brutalized. We are used to that. Is there anything new? There is nothing new.
They are tortured.
Nothing new. I've had that.
So you're ready for all these?
I've had it before for just writing rants. When even I wasn't standing for the presidency. Just write a rant and they come and pick you up and kidnap you and put you in a car with so many guns. You think I'm scared? Like there is nothing new he's going to do that we don't already know. He's old and weary and frail. There is nothing new. Even if he was my father at that age, I'm already planning for life after him. So you have to know that the only strength he has over Ugandans is fear. If Ugandans overcome that thing of fear, because you see, you go anywhere, you try to, do you know, like the amount of fear, I never understood this until they locked me up. And then we went to look for, there's a place I'd gone for, some whatever, and we needed somebody just to sign on, whatever, my condition and so on. This is a professional service. The person said, no. Like I'm saying, how can you rule a nation in fear? But let me tell you, when people get over fear, that's when they will encounter something. But now, the opportunities we have ahead of us, man, we have no place for fear. Because there are so many opportunities. Like he has instilled fear, but after some time, there's a time they would torture people, they would arrest people, torture people, they come out and they are all quiet. They disappear into some, and in some thin air. But now you look and see, everybody who has been arrested and tortured comes out stronger.
You will agree with me that there is a need of change of mindset, or like more so to the people you're speaking to.
That's why I'm saying these things. Because somebody, let me tell you, I give you an example. If like I gave you before, if a woman is in an abusive relationship, what holds her there? It's just that fear. You understand?
Fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown. Even fear of the man. So she sees he has built this monument in her mind of who he is, and it's all fake. The minute she walks out of there, she's going to be okay. But somehow she does not see herself beyond where she is, because she has been squeezed slowly into that corner. Now that's how Ugandans are. Now you have to come out of that thing and say, what have I got to lose? What have I got to gain? As a nation, we have a lot to gain. We have very little to lose. Okay? We have to come out of the state of fear, because everybody is scared. Even this sort of interview, somebody coming and asking you, I go in places. I was on TV the other day. As soon as I finished, they said now they are going to call me and question me. And I was seeing the guy asking questions, which I knew he shouldn't be asking, because you should know better than that. He's telling me, but Uganda is growing at 6% and what? I said, does that reflect, what is our, first of all, what's our inflation? Before you say what we are growing. Does that reflect in your pocket? Does the growth of the nation reflect in your pocket? So what kind of growth is that? Then he asked me that, so he's playing devil's advocate. When he finishes, he told me, forgive me, I'm sorry for playing devil's advocate. I know the things they're talking about, but we are in very tight, we're under very tight restrictions here. There are things we can say and cannot say. And if I'm seen to encourage you to say certain things, I'll be in trouble. First of all, even with my bosses. Now I understand that the media is in fear. Their interviews they cannot give. Okay? Musicians are in fear. Okay? Now, very soon, you people, bloggers, especially video bloggers, will also be in fear. Because there are things you cannot. I even go to some of these other bloggers and they are in fear. All of them say, man, you leave us alone, what? We do not want to jeopardize our thing. Because they can do everything. You understand? And that's how somebody keeps himself in power by having everybody. But then you look around, now you look around, pastors are in fear. All of them. You go and tell them that how can I mean, really, everybody has been opened up. You're the ones who have to over distance yourself how long, overdo what, do this. Why on the churches and worship centers, mosques and all that? Why on the worship centers? How come everybody else is open up without all those stringent conditions? Then somebody says, you talk about it, for us we will not. And like, you ask, so me who is talking about, don't I have a skin? Don't I have a life? Don't I have a family? Don't I have a wife? Don't I have kids? So why must everybody else be held in fear? So people have to rise up and cast away fear, because we have families also. We have children whom we are concerned about. Okay? We also have things which you can be scared about losing. But we chose that no, we are not going to be held in fear permanently. We are going to step out and go and do what this nation needs. So, and it requires other people to jump out and do the same. Now, when we do that, that's when that man's weakness will be seen. But otherwise, people are seeing strength. But for me, when I'm seeing weakness. How can you be scared of just bloggers?
There is something that has been actually moving over social media that Prophet Elvis Mbonye will be actually, I think, let me put it in quotes, that the decider, he will choose the president of this, or the next president of this nation. Has he ever prophesied anything about?
No, he has never.
About your leadership?
Actually, there was even a story that he has distanced himself from my presidency. Did you read that?
Yes, I did.
Yes. So I will be president because the people of this country will vote for me.
Not because of Prophet Elvis.
I will be president because the people of this country will vote for me. He has never prophesied that I'm going to be president. There's actually even been talk that he's even, he has distanced himself from my candidature. So he's no longer even interested. You read that story. Mm-hmm. So me, I'm going for votes. Okay? And I'll be president because the people of this country will listen to me and know that I know what I'm talking about. And I'm the only one who can deliver the things I'm talking about. And they will vote for me on that basis.
Don't you think when you say that every time I'm the only one, one might ask, why not join other forces and make something a formidable force, a strong one? At least you represent one thing. If you have these ideas and whatever, you have like what you're calling the votes in courts, why don't you sit on the table, and would you allow that in case they come to, or they call you for at least for a coalition?
Here's the problem. Number one, coalition. People all imagine. Now that's the problem where Ugandans don't, really look at analyze situations. There's a coalition. They think that if Kabuleta stands down for somebody, all people would vote for Kabuleta or vote for the other person. No. That just joins the 6 million people who need to vote. You understand? And there are 6 million people who need to vote. Okay?
In 2016.
Yes. And do you know what the number one reason why people don't vote? It's because they don't want any of the two candidates. Or any of the candidates who are there. You know that. Now, just thinking that all the opposition goes against one person, actually that makes it easier for the incumbent. Do you know why? Because they will say, who have they chosen in the opposition? Let's say they say they've chosen Kabuleta. Then I will say, I'm not going to vote. Then I will say, now, whereas if all those people came and went in the election themselves, you understand? The first step is, if you think that man is so powerful, let him get less than 50%. Because this is simple arithmetic. If Museveni gets 60% standing against one candidate, he would get if he gets 60% standing against 5 candidates, he would still get 60% standing against one candidate. Okay? Because he got 60%. It's like saying a kilo of feathers and a kilo of stones, which one is heavier? They are all a kilo. Now, it's the same thing. If 60% of the people voted for him, you understand, against 5 candidates, what makes you think that if there's just one candidate, that percentage will be reduced. It will not. The question is, what we want is to reduce the 60 to 40. How do you do that? By bringing the 6 million who did not vote to vote for different people. Now, when he has 40, he cannot be president. Now, if there is nobody who has got above 50% of the vote, then those who got the biggest percentage go alone, the two of them.
Do you believe in a coalition?
There is no point in a coalition. Coalitions are based on ideas, not on personalities. You understand? The reason coalitions have failed in Uganda all the way from 1996 is because they were based on personalities. Like, I am the one who is you, all of you give it to me. And people are not built like that. Okay? Now, let's say this, the last election, there was a candidate like the late General Viral. Also, when he says it's the Farmers Party. Farmers Party. Now, there are people who would say, yeah, me, I will vote for Viral because of his issues. Okay? Now, but if you bring somebody else because apparently Viral has no chance, they will not vote 6 million. You understand? Then there are those who, now a coalition has got to be based on something broader than just removing somebody. You understand? Because what happens after you remove him? Because it's going to be removed anyway. I've told you that. What happens after you remove him? Do you know what kind of chaos there can be?
So you wouldn't go for any coalition in case you're called in that?
After coalitions only work after nobody has gotten 50%, and then now you have to combine other whatever democratic coalitions. Take an example, for instance, of the elections, let's say in the UK or even in Israel, where they have parliamentary systems. Okay, people don't say that we are giving up. No, that's not how they do. Each one goes and gets their numbers of MPs. Then they go to the other party and say, "This is our, Nsonga." So somebody said, let's say like the late General Vidaro, let's say he gets a percentage of the vote, and now we are going for a rerun. So he goes to the person who has a bigger number of votes and says, "My issues are with the farmers. Do you promise that you're going to do ABC for the farmers? If you promise, then I'll start, back you." Now, when he does that, he goes and tells his farmers that this man has promised. You understand? That's how coalitions are done in the UK. There is the Ismail Kid Party. They are the two main parties.
So you don't see any coalition as per now, as we go into an election, succeed?
Not the kind that people want. Because it's fake. And I cannot be a party to that. It's fake.
By the way, has anyone in the opposition reached out to you ever since you announced your presidential bid?
Reached out to me in which way?
Like in regards at least to join them or to do anything, like in regards to kicking President Museveni out of leadership? Has anyone?
My issue is not that. Why don't you people understand that I am not standing against, I am standing for. And I can only do a coalition when people have the thing that I have.
So as per now, no country
has to be based on principle. You understand? It has to be based on principle. If you are somebody who wants, like if you are doing a coalition with your wife, okay, and for what she says, I want to stay in Uganda, and for you say, me, I want to get a job abroad, that coalition cannot work. Because how are you going to have a marriage when you are abroad and she's here? Unless she agrees, okay, I'm giving up on staying on Uganda, I'm going with you abroad. So the coalition has to be based on a principle, not just a coalition that now we are. I cannot be a part of that. But first of all, when did it work in Uganda? We've had 96, 2001, 2006, 2011, 2016. 5 times. So it's on the fool. Who said that? Albert Einstein. Who does the same thing over and over again and expects this different results. So do you want me to be a fool? To do the same thing and expect different results?
Pastor Kabuleta, as we wind up, what are your thoughts? Because you're in the race, you're contending for the same position with Bobi Wine, Honorable Chapman. Recently, he did a relaunch, of course, of a party that's national, the NUP, NUP.
National Unity Party.
Yes. Would you love to do anything in regards to that, or you still insisting that you're contending as an independent.
What Chakulani does is none of my business. It's absolutely none of my business.
Doesn't it inspire or motivate you in one or the other?
No, it does not. My inspiration does not come from him. If it did, then what would be the point in me starting? Why should Kabuleta be inspired by Chakulani? On the basis of what? On the basis of higher intelligence, higher what? What would be the basis of me being inspired by Chakulani? My inspiration does not come from him. My ideas don't come from him. Nothing of what I do is in any way. I actually don't even follow that much what he does. You understand? I am interested in myself and my vision for the country. Okay? My inspiration comes from the people who think like me. Actually, a lot of people say they are inspired by what I say, not the other way around.
Do you want to mean Chakulani doesn't think the same way like you do?
Sorry?
Do you want to mean that Chakulani that doesn't think the same way like you do?
I have not heard it in his talk. So, but even if he did, like, I'm presenting what he does is none of my business. And I don't even follow it. And I have very little interest in what he does as a person. Even if I have told you I have nothing against him as a person. Okay? And I believe he's a freedom fighter and so on and so on. But my inspiration is from all sorts of different channels.
But not from Chakulani?
No, not from Chakulani, not from President, not from Kisha Muntu, not from nobody. Nowhere.
I thought this is he was once your friend. I don't know.
He is my friend. He is my friend. That doesn't mean he inspires me. You understand? You can be my friend, but my inspiration for politics might not come from me. You understand?
Many have advocated for at least you to join him and have something, a very good competition ahead of President Museveni.
That's what I'm
particularly about Chakulani, not other candidates, but at least to come join hands with Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu and you push.
So what would be the basis of that coalition? Let me ask you. What would be the basis of it?
I think you represent like some of the ideas, of course. He talks about liberating this country, he discusses the finance of the economy and whatever. I think these are
the things. I don't know, but the point is this. What would be the basis of that? You know, you have to understand one thing there, that every time there is such a coalition, you push certain people out. Because there are people who will vote for Kabuleta who will not vote for Chakulani. And there are people who will vote for Chakulani who will not vote for Kabuleta. Okay? Now when you push those people away, they join the people who do not vote. And who is the beneficiary of people not voting? If 13 million people had voted, okay, and let's say Museveni still had the 6 million, this 6 million would not have been enough to win the election. You understand? So if we had reduced the number of people who don't vote from 6 million, let's say 3 million, and then Museveni still gets the 6 million, he arranges that he got. Of course, most of them are computer-generated votes. But even if he had computer-generated those votes, 6 million, and there are 13 million voters, that's less than 50%. So, first ask yourself, why don't those people vote? I am sure there are people who are waiting to hear issues, which have only been articulated by me. Nobody else has done it. I am telling the truth terribly.
In case any other candidate
issues that are about personality.
Pastor, in case any other candidate wins an election, because you pulled off the kind of confidence I've never seen in this race, in case anybody else, not Kabuleta, wins an election, what next?
Then he wins. What next? What do you mean what next? Then whoever wins, wins. Then I would not have promised people to vote for me. Then whoever, what do you expect me to say, that I'm going to go to them? No, I'm not. Whoever wins, wins.
Many have taken the court route.
Court?
Yeah.
No, if the election is fair and fair, what's there to be vote?
Do you think?
And I'm expecting there to be an election that is fair and fair.
With this electoral commission?
Okay, let's just put it this way. I'm expecting that the next election will not bring the same result as the previous 5 ones have. Okay? I mean the same result of the same person. I know that he's not going to win.
Very good.
By the way, and you can take that to the bank. So now that being the case, whoever wins will have won by the by the ballot, because nobody else controls the electoral commission apart from him. So if he's not the winner, then whoever it is that is announced winner is the actual winner. You understand? The only way it will be contested is if he wins, because he's the one who controls the electoral commission. Now that said and done, whoever wins, since it is not going to be the incumbent, would have won.
Before you give any, like, your final remarks, what's that good thing you see President Museveni has done in 35 years?
So when you host Opondo, you ask me that rubbish. Me, I'm here to talk about myself. Okay, I am not here to analyze.
As a citizen of this country,
I don't. You ask me. There are so many people who are paid money to defend his whatever his title. You go and ask them questions like that. Me, I'm here to talk about myself, and I'm here to talk about the financial liberation of this country, and the fact that we are going into a golden era where the people of this country will have an access to the world.
I'll allow you to give your final remarks and telling Ugandans the next generation of Uganda you envisage to see.
I'm telling you that even if it was just 5 years of Kabuleta president, this country will be set on a different foundation. Now, whoever comes after that can only make it better. We can no longer go back to the 70 era. You understand? Now, I will tell you that not every change of government has been good.
Sure.
Okay? There are people in Somalia who were so tired of Siad Barre until he went. It took them decades before they actually had even a state. What they can call a state. I think they're only just getting it now. There are people in Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, who are so tired of Mobutu after 32 years in power. Then one day, Mobutu is gone, and then 10 years later, I was seeing a report in the media, and people were saying that after 10 years of the Kabilas, that the Mobutu's regime was better. Because at least they were saying, I was reading it in the media, they were saying at least that time we had something close to a country. But now it was split in all sorts of factions. So what I don't want is there to be a change. The kind of change where people look back and say, man, Museveni's days were better. That would be so sad. So sad. Because we have an opportunity to do something better, and with the Museveni era is just a bad part of our history, which we just cast away somewhere, like some kind of bad part. But there is no guarantee of that. They will have to guarantee that whoever it is you're voting has the capacity to deliver a nation that is much better than what we've seen here. So that 5 years from now, nobody is looking back to Museveni and saying those are the good old days. So that 5 years from now, everybody says, man, wow, we came out of some kind of, trauma, and now we've arrived in some kind of promised land. That's what I want, and that's what I'm going to deliver.
Very good. That has been Pastor Joseph Kabuleta. But lastly, would you love to meet President Museveni, and what would you love to tell him?
No, I wouldn't want to meet him. I have absolutely nothing to tell him. Absolutely nothing to tell him. Nothing. What did I tell you? To give power is so many people have told him that. So nothing. I wouldn't want to meet him.
That is Pastor Joseph Kabuleta for you, vying for the top seat. Oh, well, there are quite a lot of questions I'll have to pose to these presidential candidates. Of course, not yet a candidate, but contenders. Very good. I don't know whether he is already a candidate, but he confirms.
Aspirant.
He confirms. I've never seen actually this kind of confidence before. Seriously, someone looks into the camera and says, tomorrow, come rain, come sunshine, I will be the president. This kind of confidence, I guess, one time I'll have to sit in this cabinet and grill these people and understand, even shake hands if COVID is gone, and understand how they will be, how they will run this country and everything. So that has been Joseph Kabuleta for you, a pastor. And I think he's taking us to the promised land. Well, thanks for my big team behind me for this shoot right here. My camera guy, B.A. Ivan, and my good friend, Seliana, of course, on the drive. And I'll be grabbing shoulders yet with another candidate Robert Chagulanyi sent out very soon, and we understand more how the NUP is going to transform this nation and quite a number of things. So I will still pose this question to you. What kind of Uganda would you love your kids, your grandchildren to see? It's you to create the tomorrow you want, and it's not yesterday. You need to do it today. As he has said, Pastor Kabuleta, the fears, they have to be dropped, and we focus on the real thing and the post. My name is Moses Wamala. We meet till again, all social media platforms, Uganda Eyenkya and Moses Wamala. Will see you when you see me.